This is our autumn equinox message. Okay, so we started officially autumn yesterday. Autumn equinox, well, usually on our calendars it tells us for daylight. I wonder if they call it Eastern Daylight Time. And in Eastern Daylight Time, it started yesterday. But in Pacific Time, it started at 11:50 the night before. Well, that's not much before, but anyway, I thought I'd tell you that. They never tell that on our calendars. Anyway, equinox means equal night, because at that time of year, at equinoxes, which happen in the fall and then again in the spring in March, the days and the nights are more or less equal, depending on exactly where you live, right? So the days and nights are more or less equal. The longest day of the year, as you guys know, is around June 21st, so it's like the first day of summer, the longest day of the year. And then gradually they get shorter and shorter and shorter. And at equinox, they're equal, day and night. And the days just continue, though, getting shorter and shorter and shorter until winter, the winter solstice, which is around December 21st, more or less. And that's when the shortest day of the year happens. So we're right in the middle now at the equinox. I think, okay. So solstices and equinoxes, right now we're at the equinox, have been celebrated in many cultures, maybe all cultures, but what do we know of the world? The ones we seem to hear about the most are Celtic and Wiccan and pagan. And, you know, although maybe on the radio every season change, it's mentioned, oh, now we're in autumn. They might even say equinox, right? But we don't like organize our lives quite as much around it as people probably did in the past. The pagans celebrate the autumn equinox, also called Mabon by some, as a harvest festival to be thanked for everything they get from the earth that they have received. And they gather at sacred stones. I wish we had some of those sacred stones to give gratitude. We'll have to gather at other places, or not even gather on our own also in nature. Sacred stones are usually out in nature. To give gratitude, we have so much to be grateful for. Besides gratitude, the autumn equinox is a time of balance, naturally. Equal day, early night, equal night. Well, it starts there, but it just goes on to be a theme where they thought about balance in their own lives too. The zodiac sign, even Libra, is a sign of balance, right? We could consider, as these other older cultures and some people nowadays do, the gratitude and the balance in our own lives. I was thinking about balance. Well, we have a balance perhaps of times when we're indoors and when we're outdoors, when we're doing things for ourselves or when we're doing things for others, when we're speaking or listening, learning or accepting what we already know is adequate. If we're doing creative activities or just kind of normal, everyday things. There's lots of things we could balance. I'm sure there's a million others too. In the past, I think that people are a lot more aware of the changes going on in the earth and the universe and nature than we are. But, and we're not so much that way nowadays. But I think if we were, we might be a little more in sync with the rest of the world and with ourselves if we paid a little more attention and thought about what the different parts of the year what meaning they might have. Anyway, I'd like to tell you, although I love children's books, I didn't go searching for an autumn equinox book, nor did I have one in my head. But I have this book. I decided it's tied in anyway, okay? In the sense that, well, everything's kind of related to everything else. I always like this quote. I saw this quote first, and I don't know if you've been to the Oakland Museum, but they used to, I don't know if they still do, they had quotes hanging from the ceiling. So this was one by John Muir, who said, "When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. So in that sense, the book's related, but also it's about the seasons of a person's life and gratitude and balance. Okay. And it's called The Gift. It's written by Carol Ann Duffy, who was, what do they call them, of England, poet laureate in Britain, I think they said. The first woman to have held the position. Well, I guess it was about time, since I think she's still around. Yeah, Carol Ann Duffy. Carol Ann Duffy. And Rob Ryan did their cut paper pictures, which I love. Of course, that's what attracted me first when I saw it, because that's what you see first, right? Pictures and, well, the words on the cover, I guess, The Gift. Okay, then this is the story of a person's life. Short, though, don't worry. Not in very much detail. Okay, a long time ago, when the world and everything in it was younger, there lived a beautiful girl. The girl lived in a small town with her mother and father. It was a quiet town, of a sort not found nowadays, and its sounds were church bells, children, cattle passing at the crossroads, boots on cobblestone, an accordion or a fiddle through the open window of an inn, the wordless voices of dogs, cats, and at nighttime, owls. Before she went to sleep, she would look out across the moon-oiled rooftops of the small town toward the dark woods at its edge, listening to the gentle query of an owl and wondering what her life would bring. One day in early summer, the girl and her mother and father were picnicking in the woods. The girl had started to make a necklace of buttercups and daisies. She wandered between the trees, collecting her small flowers. She reached a little clearing where buttercups sparkled in the sunlight. The girl knelt to continue her chain of flowers. She could hear the murmur of her parents' voices nearby as she pierced neat slits with her thumb and fingernail into the soft green stems of the buttercups. Oops. Bees prayed for honey at a wild rose. No, I honestly think I missed a page, so let's just see. No, okay. Bees prayed for honey at a wild rose bush. A thought suddenly came to the girl, as urgent and vivid as a butterfly opening its orange wings, that she wanted to be buried in this plot of land when she died.
How old is this girl?
I know, unusual thought, I think, for a little girl, whatever age she is. No sooner had she had this strange, intense thought than there was a rustle from the bushes, and an old woman stood before her. The woman, though lined with age and silver-haired, had a strong and lovely face, and her bright, watery eyes were kind. She was barefooted and dressed in a long white robe. "Give me your flower necklace," she said to the girl, "and you shall have your wish." The girl was alarmed at this and got to her feet. "What wish?" she said. "The wish to be buried in this plot of land when you die." The girl stared at the old woman as the old woman slowly sat down on the grass, gazed up at her, and said again, "Give me the necklace, and you shall have your wish." The girl looked at the chain of flowers in her hands. Quickly, she made a final piercing and joined the two ends of the necklace together. Then she took 3 swift steps toward the old woman and looped the necklace around her neck. As she did this, the girl heard her mother's voice calling her name and looked behind her. And when she looked again, the old woman was gone. The girl turned and ran through the trees. By the time the picnic was over, the girl had started and finished another flower chain, and she said nothing to her parents about the old woman. Time passed slowly, and the girl was often in the woods with her family or with her friends. Whenever she was there, she would wander off on her own and spend a few minutes in the little clearing. If she had found a special stone, she would bring it to the clearing and place it there. Once she came with a pocketful of bulbs from home to plant, and they would be snowdrops. Another time she came with a twist of paper with some seeds inside and planted them. They would grow into forget-me-nots. And as the girl grew into a young woman, the plot of land began to fill with the loveliest flowers, the most fragrant herbs, and the most perfect stones. The young woman had art in her hands, and she became a painter. She had her own small house in the town now and worked there in a room generous with light. In the evenings, she walked through the town to her parents' house or to her friends' houses. She had love in her heart and fell for a friend of a friend of a friend. Soon enough, she moved to a bigger house in the town with him. She had a child in her belly, and by the year's end, she was a mother, painting her pictures as her child slept in a crib next to the easel. Time passed slowly and brought many people who wanted to buy a painting. Another child was born. The woman visited the woods many times with her children. She still went to the clearing and tended the plot of land as her children played hide and seek among the trees. Sometimes she brought her paints and canvases and painted there, and these paintings were amazing in their intense use of color. Time passed, and one winter, the woman's mother died, and then her father. This was a season of real darkness for the woman. She painted nothing and kept her family close as snow whirled and shredded itself around the house. But when spring came, she went again to the plot of land in the clearing in the woods with a trowel and a packet of seeds. The woman's life brought happiness and love and art, and her children grew and flourished. In time, they moved to their own houses in the town, and before she knew it, the older woman was a grandmother. She took her grandchildren for walks in the woods, and when they gave her a special stone or pebble, she made sure to take it to the clearing and place it there. Time was passing quickly, and soon she had to walk everywhere with a stick. She stood at the edge of the clearing, looking at the plot of land. She knew all the names of the flowers: monkshood, campion, stock, hollyhock, love lies bleeding, snapdragon, columbine, cornflower, wallflower, clematis, foxglove, sweet pea, flax, lupin, honesty, marigold, and rose of heaven. The air was heavy with the scents of herbs: dill, chervil, borage, sage, rosemary, angelica, chamomile, wild garlic, hyssop, lavender, tarragon, and thyme. The stones and pebbles shone in their patterns. Now you know what's going to happen. Okay. One day, even the stick could not help the old woman to walk, and her new painting lay unfinished on the easel. She grew weak, and her family gathered around, talking quietly, and her grandchildren drew pictures to pin on the wall by her bedside. The old woman felt no fear and told her family that if anything happened, she wished to be buried in the plot of land in the clearing in the woods. She drifted into sleep and dreamed that she stood in the clearing again in her nightdress. A young girl knelt there, making a chain of small flowers. She sat on the cool grass, and the child stood up and stepped toward the old woman to place the flower necklace around her neck. Her head filled with a sweet golden light, and as she watched, the young girl turned and ran into the juggling shadows of the trees. So now I'm sure people have something to say, whether or not it has anything to do with either the story or what I just read.
Being in a military family, we moved a lot. And when we get settled in, one of the first things I would try to do would be get out of the house and